Hi, my name is John Messina, and welcome to another edition of Hey Coach. Here, our guest speaker for the summer, coming down the home stretch of his career, is my good buddy Dan Comeau, the athletic director at Treasure Coast. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, John.
I know you're the only one that can get out here over the summer. No, I'm only kidding. But today was the last day for working, and now you got the summer off, and you can take a vacation somewhere.
For the first time in a long time, I'm going to head to Boston and go to Fenway Park and do some camping.
Good for you. And how many years you have been at Treasure Coast?
13.
13 years at Treasure Coast, and hopefully this might be your last year.
Could be,
right?
could be.
And you join me in retirement.
Yeah.
We got great places to eat.
I don't want to end on the year 13, though. It's got to go to 14.
You got to go 13 and a half or 14, okay? Let me ask you a question. We've been talking about this with a lot of athletic directors that we had on the show. What has been like the biggest change since you started being an athletic director to now in high school athletics?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think I have to say the technology.
Okay.
I think if you remember back when we were filling out the yellow sheets with names and
I know.
birth
Good old
dates
days.
and sending it to the FHSAA, I think now it still has its glitches as technology does, but it's much more streamlined now and much more efficient.
It is a big change. I remember we used to put a name in, type in the name, type in how many classes they passed, did they have a physical, type in their birthday, and then we'd have to carbon copy. A lot of people don't know what that is. And then mail it. We didn't even have fax machines when I started way back when. And it's kind of a funny story. When I was baseball coaching AD at Pace, we had to send in our roster right before the state tournament. And Fred Roselle, who was the commissioner at that point, calls me up, and I knew him pretty well, and he says, "John, congratulations on going to the state tournament again." And I says, "Thank you." He says, "We got a problem. 3-year players are ineligible." And I'm saying, "Mr. Roselle, I'm the AD and the baseball coach. My players are good. They got great grades. Everybody's fine." He says, "Well, I looked at what you typed in on the sheet. One's 96. Another one's 104, and the third one hasn't been born yet because I typed it in." But there has been a lot of changes over the years. One thing I think that really stands out is that how student athletes are really geared to play just one sport now.
That's kind of sad because when you specialize in one sport, you overwork those muscles.
Yes.
And you peak early. Yeah. I like to see, and even college coaches still like to see multiple sports players.
Absolutely. There was a great article on ESPN last week that the ninth pick in the draft is a young man named Murray from Oklahoma in the baseball draft. He's also going to be the starting quarterback. So he's got a nice option to go. But, we don't see that anymore. And sometimes, I know you and I thought alike as athletic directors, and we kind of push young men and women to play as many sports as they can. But again, with the overlapping seasons, and that's kind of hard to do. And, some of your coaches just want to be focused on their sport, not another sport,
One of our best players, Tyreek, he plays basketball and football, and he's a great athlete in both. He has the potential to be in Division I either way, and it's so nice to see kids playing both sports and the coaches allowing that.
When you look back, I'm giving you to reminisce right now because I've been doing a lot of reminiscing in the year and a half that I've been out. It's so hard as an athletic director to just, do your jobs. And the fact that, getting a little information for the show tonight, 5 years ago, 13 athletic directors in the public schools in this area. After you leave next year, there'll only be 3 left.
Wow.
So it's such a change.
Well, it's a trend, and it's at the national level, they did a study, and then the average age for an athletic director is 3 years. And then they bow out because they really don't know what they're getting into. They don't know the hours. I've just been asked by the board of directors of the FIAAA to restart the mentoring and training program for new ADs so that we can combat that.
Yeah. And even before they become an athletic director, everybody says, I want to be athletic director. Well, before you even become one, do you know what you're doing?
Do you know what you're getting into?
You know what you're doing? You know, your phone's available all the time.
Yeah.
You're working 80 hours a week. You work in,
And then with your administration, other jobs as needed.
as needed, which could be
Testing.
anything. Testing, and I was very good at that. I was also extremely good at lunch duty.
Me too.
I know.
And bus duty.
And bus duty too. I mean, we had them down. And it's just before somebody becomes an athletic director, it's almost like, I know you're doing the training for new athletic directors. I wonder if you got to have something that says, okay, you want to go into this field now, before you even go into the field, here's what we got to look at.
Let's talk.
But there's so many different changes. And also another thing, and it's kind of a pet peeve for me, is that we don't teach our coaches how to coach anymore. Okay, when we hire coaches, a lot of times it's necessity. New coach, okay, you got the job. But teachers every year get trained to become better teachers. Coaches, what are they training? I know the FHSA has some classes, but I wish there was almost like an in-service that every county must have before the year started. And you go over things, and we're going to go over safety issues in a little bit, but just how to coach. I know I've been helping out Martin County with baseball the last 2 years, and boy, has it changed.
Oh yeah.
One of the first words one of the players, a very nice young man, said to me that never was said to me when I was coaching all my years. I know. Nobody's ever said that to me. I was like, what do you mean? You know? Then what am I telling you this?
Well, when you look at a coach, especially at the high school level, they're a teacher most of the time.
Correct.
So they've got that job on them, and they
Right.
keep getting dumped on with more and more information that they have to deal with. Then you look at their coaching and techniques and methods, and they've got that down pat.
Right.
But now you're adding on, you're going to have to do some fundraising.
Correct.
And some are good at it and some are not. And now we're asking them to be trainers on the field, and now we're asking them to take these courses with the kids. And it just piles up, and to pull all the coaches together becomes increasingly difficult because they're all in different areas.
It's almost like you should have a day.
Yes, you should have a day
You should have
just for
one
coaches.
whole day in the beginning of the year or at the end of the year just to go through the new trends. And you bring in people that have coached before. Not just your sport, because I did a thing for the FHSA, a seminar on ADs working with coaches a few years ago. And one of the things I said, I would tell my coaches, be a thief. But I meant by steal from somebody else what they're doing well. Take their playbook. Your best resource is the person next to you in a meeting, is your coaches. But it has changed. And another thing that I know you talk about all the time is the impact of social media that we never had 20 years ago.
Oh, it's incredible. Social media is good, but it's like everything else. It can be abused, and it is.
Yeah, it's just that there's so many different things. And if we go into the safety issues, I mean, we're talking about issues that 20, 30 years ago, we assumed it, okay? Probably for all the wrong reasons. I know now with the concussions, everybody's aware of that. You have videos to help you, but why don't we have classes? Why don't we have doctors in here? Why don't we give examples, all right?
Here's my theory about it. They take the course with the kids, and they watch the concussion, they watch the heat, and they watch the cardio, and hopefully they do it correctly. And seriously, I try to tell them, this is one of your practices. Take them in a classroom, watch this, talk about it.
Yeah.
But when you are out on the field and you're coaching and something happens, I don't think it clicks as fast to take care of the issue. If the state would mandate trainers at every school, those people live the life. They're the one, it's second nature to them. They see a concussion or a heat go down, they know exactly what to do. They don't have to go back in their memory bank and think, oh, what was I supposed to do at this point?
See, and you're right, they're trained what to do. And just looking at it, when certain counties have trainers and certain counties don't have trainers, it just doesn't register why. I mean, you look at the NFL now. I mean, with all their precautions, people still getting hurt with concussions. How many trainers do they have? How many doctors do they have? I know you and I could think back of that one soccer game we had years ago, girls soccer, and those girls were going down left and right.
Yes, they were.
And we had a trainer at that time. You know, Kathy was with us at that time, and she was running around
was
crazy.
busy.
You know, you and I as athletic directors don't have that knowledge. Your coaches don't have the knowledge. I'm more worried, as you mentioned, at practices rather than at games. Usually at games you have somebody there. Football games, we have an ambulance, we have a trainer there. And a lot of times you get a doctor to volunteer.
Yeah.
But I know there was a big article in the paper, and I can't figure out what's going on, where the FHSAA is fighting with certain legislative groups, certain state senators, that want to mandate certain classes and certain precautions for heat exhaustion over the summer, which in Florida is worse than anybody.
You know, when I moved to Florida, I just couldn't believe that we started so early.
Yeah.
And in Massachusetts, we started the week before Labor Day is when we had our first practices, and it was hot then. But by the time the season ended, we were playing in the snow. Here, you're in the heat from August on, and it's early in August.
And, you know, I always wonder, and I know a lot of schools don't have lights, like in St. Lucie County, but a lot of schools are going to practice now at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, or they're practicing at night, which makes sense because they're playing at night.
Yeah.
How many times do you really play in the afternoon? But, I mean, there was a big disagreement, and there's a very good article on TC Palm about that. Some of the state legislatures wanted to mandate that they have the certain little baby swimming pools.
The ice tubs.
Ice tubs filled in there. And the FHSAA, and they probably have their reasons, didn't want to push it unless the state said they had to do it. They wouldn't mandate it on their own. And I remember, geez, before I left, well, my guys had their little pools, and you did the same thing.
I was coaching in the 90s. We had them at New Smyrna Beach High School.
And like you said, you got your players, they come in. Are they really paying attention to these classes? Didn't a few years ago we had a concussion class that you had to take the test and pass?
Yes.
I think you should go back to that.
Well, they still have to take the test.
Yeah.
But they take it as a class, and they discuss the questions as they go through. Yeah. I'm hoping that's what we do at Treasure Coast.
See, that's why, you know, going back to what we brought up a few minutes ago, if each county that the FHSA mandated in the state has their own 1 day in service, all day, just like teachers would go. It's only 1 day. And you would cover safety issues. You would cover social media issues. You would cover financial issues, what you can do and what you can't do with money. You would go through coaching issues. You would go through dealing with the parents' issues, you know?
Well, you know, the FHSA has that compliance seminar for athletic directors, and that would just be a next step, a compliance seminar for coaches, let the district dictate that date.
Yeah.
You know, coaches are getting paid, not much, but they're getting paid extra, you know, for being there. 1 day with that information is worth so much.
And also, I would also put in there a breakout time where coaches of certain sports can meet together and talk about what they're doing. I remember years ago when we had the Treasure Lake Conference, one of the best things we did is when we had scheduling meetings.
Yeah, I remember those.
Meetings, which should take 20 minutes, ended up taking 4 hours.
Yeah, because of the camaraderie.
The camaraderie, and the coaches were saying, what are you doing and what are you not doing? And that's something I think we're missing. And you know, hopefully maybe down the road they'll go to it. But I know the FHSAA is going through major changes now.
Yes, they are.
And they're throwing something that's kind of, I don't know how to say it, but just different. That I'm being very polite and nice on TV here. That they want to take football for the first year. They went to sort of a point system based on your schedule. Did you beat somebody on the road? Did you beat somebody on home? It's almost like the old BCS computer, okay? Now, just in football, you can get by. You're playing 1 game a week.
Yep, they're trying to mirror the college.
They're trying to mirror the college.
Yep.
But The one thing that the college left, now think about this, the college left that and went to a committee because the computers didn't take a lot of factors in. If you look at the other sports in college, like basketball and baseball and softball and soccer, they have committees that choose it. FHSAA wants to go strictly on a computer-based thing, and they want to get rid of districts.
The computer-based system they want to use is Max Preps.
Right.
And they are readily able to say Max Preps is not perfect, but they are trying to get it there, and they are hoping by the time the football season rolls around, Max Preps will be much more efficient than it is at this point. We talked about that at the compliance seminar this past May.
What I would suggest, is you have the Max Preps to give you maybe a ranking of each team, but let a committee choose it. Now, I'm just throwing out what they want to do with some of the sports, baseball, softball, basketball. They want to take the top 64 teams, put them in the upper class, then the next 64 in the next class, okay? Now, they're going to get rid of districts, and we'll talk about the repercussions of that in a second. But if you go 1 to 64, and I know as a baseball guy and a golfer, okay, I don't want to make that championship flight if I got to play the club champion in the first round. So if I'm 57, 58, 59 out of 64 going into last week, boy, I'm hoping I'm in the second round or second class.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, if you take away districts, now you still have regions, but when you were at Treasure Coast and I was at Centennial, whatever game we played, even soccer, and I'm knocking soccer, we had a nice crowd. If your first round game is Brevard County or your first round game is Broward County, you have 10 people. Our basketball games were packed. Now you're not going to have that.
Yep,
so you're going to lose
difference.
money in the districts. And for the outdoor sports, you've got to take in the weather, okay? I mean, that would be my suggestion to them, and then if I get a chance to get up there over the summer, have your ranking, like an RPI ranking for basketball, but then have a committee of people that know. I mean, running the state baseball tournament the way we did years ago, we had teams in there that had 10, 11, 12 losses and won it.
Yes.
And won the big classes, okay? Okeechobee High School, which, kind of beat us at Martin County in the regional semifinals, they made it to the finals, and we figured it out. They never would have qualified for the tournament if it's under this system. So you don't know in some sports, you know? And, baseball, you don't use the same pitcher, and soccer could be quite different. So, again, if you're going on this exact point system and science, you're taking a lot out of it, you know?
But, we're veterans and we don't like change.
Well, we don't like, I don't.
I actually do like change, but I'm interested to see how this goes.
I want to see how it goes. I would again suggest they go a whole year without doing it, but do it on the side, and then compare what they did. Because I think
they did that in basketball.
And
this past year.
They did it in basketball?
Yes. They gave us sheets on how it would have happened this past year. Treasure Coast High School has always had a great basketball program. We would have been playing the big dogs.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
See, and that's not right, because you guys are one of the best teams in the state. Now, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago in football, when they did this on the side, you beat Central head-to-head in a district game. You both had the same record. But if they went by that system that year, Central would have went to the playoffs.
And we would not have.
And you would have not have gone.
Yep.
And again, we're not the NFL. We're not the college. If we get rainouts, I mean, there was teams that complained about the playoffs because of the storms this year. They only played 7 games. Somebody else played 10.
Look at, Irma came through and the other one. And, we did. Some of the games didn't get made up.
Yeah, it's just tough on that. And again, I'm seeing what they're trying to do, but, are we taking away from, I mean, your districts, you always had your rivalry games, which meant a lot. I mean, before Treasure Coast came in, when Centennial played PSL, it was packed. Well, now when Centennial plays Treasure Coast, it's packed, but we might not even play. And then the other thing, too, is you don't have to schedule. If you don't have districts, you don't have to schedule.
I don't have to schedule you,
You
but
don't have to schedule.
it would be wrong not to.
I
but-
know it would. I know it would. One of the things I usually bring my good buddy Fred Alamade, who's the head guidance counselor at Centennial. I used to bring him on over the summer, and we go through a lot of what parents should know about trying to get their students eligible for college. You know, trying to get them to take the right classes, when to take the test and everything, when to get cleared by the clearinghouse. You know, the role of a coach helping a student getting a scholarship. Notice I didn't say getting a student, a scholarship. You know, what do you think the role of a coach, the role of an athletic director, helping a student get a scholarship?
I think that should be a supplement to what's really happening. It should be coming from the parents. What school do you want to go to? What do you want to major in? Those are the questions you should be asking, not, I want to play football and I'll just major in something else. You got to know what your future looks like and where you want to go. I think guidance counselors need to be a part of that equation also. And the NCAA rules change every year.
Yes, they do.
And parents need to stay on top of that with the guidance counselor. I think it's our job as coaches and athletic directors to make sure that the kids are taking the correct courses along with the guidance counselor, and communicate with the college coaches. When they come to my office, they don't ask what the talent of the child is.
Absolutely.
Because they already know. They want to know if they're a good citizen, if they have good grades, and you know, what is their discipline record.
Absolutely.
And those are the things that they look for. Because if my kid doesn't look that good, there's another kid down the road.
Absolutely. A few years ago, when Centennial won the Sportsmanship Award, they had a banquet for all the winners up at University of Florida. And Billy Donovan, who's coach of Oklahoma City Thunder now, was coach at Florida. And we all met with him, and Mrs. Pike was our principal at that time. And she said to him, she says, in her funny way, Coach Donovan, how do you deal with parents? Or how do you deal with parents? And how do you tell them about, about getting scholarships? And you know, and Gail knew what she was talking about. And Coach Donovan said, and he says, I'm going to address this when I talk to everybody as a group. And he says, listen, I don't care what their stats are. We have somebody on each coaching staff at every single college, no matter what level, that'll find you if you're good.
Yeah.
But you got to qualify. And you have had many football coaches come in to your school. I had many come in, and I'll never forget. We had a player a few years ago that Alabama was looking at, and Nick Saban flew in with his assistant coaches. Not once in almost a 45-minute conversation with Coach Parker and myself did he ask about the physical ability or what the young man was doing.
They already know.
They already know. They were asking so many things about his classes. Just tell me situations that he was in. How did he deal with adversity? What's his home life? And I think a lot of times, and it's hard for a parent, and I was a parent of young men that played ball too, is to be realistic. It's very difficult. You want to play Division I, you better be great.
I'm glad you brought that up. November 8th, I have a very close friend of mine from Phoenix, Arizona, coming in, Jack Rinkins.
Great.
He talks about recruiting reality, and he doesn't talk about how to get recruited. He tells you about the realities of recruiting.
Right.
If you don't have a phone call by such and such a date, you're not a Division I. You're not going. You got to find a place where you want to play. And he's an in-your-face kind of guy. He does a 90-minute presentation, and he's coming in on November 8th at 7 o'clock at Treasure Coast High School.
So let's see if we can get you on a few weeks before.
Maybe, and promote him, because he is somebody that a lot of parents need to hear if they're serious about getting their child into the college level.
I'll never forget, John Lynch told me a story years ago when he was at Lincoln Park. The parent kept calling up his basketball coach saying the young man was going to go to North Carolina. And he wasn't even starting for Lincoln Park. And the kid was a great student. And John brought him in, and John's got a way of saying things. And he said, you know, first of all, let's be honest, the physical ability, but you have the academic ability that if you want to go there and get on with this grant and
walk
on. And I think he did go on and end up being a manager up there and everything. But there's so many opportunities. Like I know, for example, baseball has 11.25 scholarships, okay? They usually carry 28 players. Now divide that. It's maybe, and this is athletic scholarships. So you got to get academic scholarships, you know. So I always told my parents that unless your son is great, and you got to define great. Your definition of great, my definition of great.
Yeah.
So you're going to be great. You better have the grades. You know, 2.0 is going to get you playing softball on Sunday mornings. Okay, 2.5 is going to get you playing softball on Sunday morning. You got to get those grades. You got to take the test. You got to take the test early, and you got to be a good person. Okay, and when you interview on that. But I think, see, that's another thing that if we ever put together an in-service, and you and I can come out of retirement to do it, and you know, we could talk to the coaches. This is how you got to approach your parents.
Yeah.
You know, you don't say your son's not good enough, your daughter's not good. No, here are your options. This is what I can help your son or daughter get the scholarship, and you know. The women's sports have changed so much over the years that they're on equal footing now with the men's sports, and that's
which is the right way.
It's the right way. I mean, I watched that softball World Series; it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it really was.
And you see those young ladies from all over the country. You know how good, and it's about time. So there is an opportunity out there, but you know we got to tell parents, grades got to come first.
Yeah, we try at Treasure Coast to have three parent meetings a year. One in the fall, one in the winter, and one in the spring, and it's prior to the season. And after that, we have breakouts, and they go to their specific team. But my whole message is how important grades. This is an educational institution. We are we are teaching educational athletics, not entertainment athletics. So your son or daughter are going to learn things like teamwork, time management, all those things that you need in the business world. We're going to teach them on the field. They may not get that in the classroom, but they're certainly going to get it on the field.
That's why they're called student athletes. And you use that phrase. And the one thing I always, when I talk to parents about going to college, I says, you know what your son or daughter is going to miss the most? The bell. There's no bells.
No bells.
There's no bells. There's not tell you when to go to class. There's no bells when to tell you to go to practice, okay? You know, you probably won't even get texts from your coaches.
Nope.
This is the time you go to class. This is the time you go there. But,
And statistically, it has been proven that student athletes do better academically during their season because they're under structure.
Yes, that's.
I wish I could bring people into my office the day after football. They wander around like they're lost.
They're lost.
What do I do?
I know.
And they don't have the structure anymore.
Absolutely.
Now they have to restructure their life for a postseason academic thing.
Well, we're out of time again, my friend.
Wow, that was quick.
That was quick. We go quick, but I want to thank you for coming in. And I know you and I have some great memories with Treasure Coast and Centennial over the years. And hopefully you have a nice, smooth year to your retirement, okay? And thanks to everybody for another edition of Hey Coach.